All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 135-pound division and the 147-pound division at the same time, as Gervonta Tank Davis's team admits something about Terence Bud Crawford, and also some things that were. Some things ain't changed. Let us put it that way. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the 135-pound division and what it is panning out to be in the big mega fight that could be down the road. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 135-pound, 147-pound division, and we're going to talk about the biggest name in American boxing, if not the biggest name in all of boxing, talking about the best fighter, or at least his team talking about the best fighter in the world. And there's still a little bit of a gap there, and some things I do believe that we're going to see, which is called reality checks. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. And thank you to everybody that sponsors the videos in the super thanks. It really does go a very, very long way towards supporting the channel and content creators whose work you enjoy. You know how the world goes. Everybody that sponsorships, thank you so much for everything you guys do. Thank you for watching the video. Hit the like button if you like it, though. Hit the dislike button if you don't. But let's get into this, man, because there has been a lot of change in boxing, but some things have stayed the same. Gervonta Tank Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, had a conversation, gave an interview in which he talked about Terence Crawford, and made an admission that Terence Crawford is the best pound-for-pound fighter, #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, the best fighter in the world. And guess who that would include in that mix? It would include Gervonta Tank Davis, who is the WBA world champion at lightweight. However, all that is a further indication that people's pipe dreams will not be realized. And what is that pipe dream? The pipe dream is the notion that Gervonta Davis is ever going to fight Terence Bud Crawford. Now, why is that important? Because that tells you that Gervonta Davis is not going to be going to 147. He more than likely is going to be staying at 140. And that means that some of the big fights that are taking place in the lightweight division are eventually going to come around and take place, similar to the big fights that took place at 147 pounds. They got Terence Crawford to the accolades that people, I think almost everybody is freely giving him now, which is to say that he's the best fighter in boxing. Myself personally, I've said that I thought that he was the best fighter, pound-for-pound fighter in the world for several years now, though I definitely do not agree with everything Terence Crawford says. That particular thing, I have to say, he is 100% right about. I'm not sure what took so many people so long to see that. Literally, when you look at the scoring criteria of boxing, the 4 areas where you're supposed to judge a fight on, he's stacked in every single solitary one of them. And I have no idea why people, by and large, and I'm telling you 99% of the people that I talk to about pound for pound lists don't use the scoring criteria for a boxing match as their test or their basis for deciding who's the best. That's kind of, to me, like saying that you want to know who the best basketball player is, but you don't take in consideration who's the best defensive player, how good is he defensively, how good is he offensively, how good does he shoot the ball? You know what I mean? Like all of the different things that you need to be able to do to be a very, very good basketball player. You think that people would take that in consideration. Or who's the best team? Well, who wins the most, right? Combination of offense and defense. Who scores the most and prevents people from scoring the most, right? There is your basis for it. So things like specifically the four things, clean and effective punching, effective aggression, defense, and ring generalship. Terence Crawford is absolutely stacked in that. However, there's some things that he's not stacked in, which is not stacked in fans. And this is something that is coming to, I'm telling you, is going to come to play in for the rest of the career of Terence Crawford and in the rest of the career of Gervonta Davis. Now, also, there should be something said about this whole pound for pound thing, which is that pound for pound really doesn't mean anything. Because you can have one area, first of all, because it's hypothetical, but secondly, you can have one area in your arsenal of those four things that are just so hard for anybody else to overcome that you may be pound for pound more a better fighter than they are, but you're not going to overcome the one thing or the two things that they have that you just can't stop, right? The basketball scenario for me is kind of like a guy like Shaq, who was sitting in an interview with a bunch of other ex-professional fighters, Hall of Fame level, not fighters, basketball players, and they were talking about basketball IQ. And Shaquille O'Neal said, "What's that?" And people started laughing. And he's like, "Look, man, I mean it. Like, to me, basketball IQ is overrated. You either can play or you can't play." And he says, "Look, when I see somebody, I think to myself, you're too small. You're too small, or you're too little, you're too short, or you're too small. I'm running through you, period." And that's what he did through his career. And he did it to a Hall of Fame level because he had that level of size and athleticism and skill where if you just can't, he don't have to outthink you. He's just gonna bully you and get you out of there. In boxing, a great example of that is Deontay Wilder, who you can say whatever you want about his ring generalship and his defense, his effective aggressions, but his clean, effective punching is so through the roof. And his IQ is high enough to figure out exactly how to land it on every single solitary person he's ever fought. Yeah, dog, he can absolutely lay out somebody like that. So it only goes so far. But this, is going to just discount any of this ridiculousness that people had been talking about, wanting Gervonta Davis to go up to 147 pounds, as if that was ever really a serious conversation. But I will tell you where I think for Terence Crawford, this combination of being a great fighter, but not necessarily having a great supportive fan base is going to wind up I think it's going to wind up, number one, is going to be an Errol Spence rematch. If he wins that fight, which, most people assume that he will or believe that he will, it's going to run him into a Jaron Ennis fight. Because the other two guys that he was aiming at, neither one of them are really interested in fighting him. And that's Canelo Alvarez and Jermell Charlo. As Jermell Charlo now says, "Nah, man, that stuff's not happening unless he comes to 160. I'm not even fighting him at 154. That's got to be 160. And Canelo Alvarez just flat out looking at him like, "Who have you beaten?" And when you say, "Who have you beaten?" you've only beaten one guy. And Canelo says that, more than like Canelo ain't really tripping on you too hard, especially because of the fan base issue, which means he's not going to make an exorbitantly huge amount of money for fighting Terence Crawford. And I don't care what anybody says, Terence Crawford's a big risk for Canelo. But anyway, I just wanted to share my 2 cents on that. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And thank you so very kindly for listening to the video today. And with that, I'm out. Peace.